So today we're going to be talking about an introduction to powers. So the first question we need to ask ourselves is, what exactly is a power? So in this diagram below, it shows that the power is basically the culmination of the base and the exponent. When you have a base raised to a certain exponent, that together is a power. So I'm going to go through the definitions of each, and hopefully that will clarify this diagram a little bit. So an exponent tells us how many times to multiply the base by itself. For example, if we have a base b, which is the variable I've outlined for the base in the diagram, if we multiply by it in this way, what is the exponent, do you think? Well, e is equal to 2, because the base appears twice. Then we'll write it as b to the power 2, and that would be, you guessed it, the power, because we have a base and we have an exponent. I'll give you another example. B times b times b. What is the exponent here? What is e equal to? And I'll remind you again, e is just the variable I've outlined for the exponent. So 1, 2, 3. B is there 3 times, therefore e is equal to 3. And so we write b raised to 3. And this all together, these are powers. So the base is simply a number that is multiplied by itself a certain number of times, or e number of times. Here you can see I'm using the variable p to represent the base, but in reality, b is a number. B can be any number. Just because I'm using a variable here doesn't mean that it's always going to look like that. It could be, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. So just don't get tripped up on that. And then to just reiterate, the power is a base raised to an exponent e. So let's go through some practice problems. So write each of these as a power. So I recommend that you try these yourself, pause the video, and then come back, and you can see the solutions. Okay, so for the first one, let's first identify the base. What is the base? Let's remind ourselves, the base is the number that's multiplied by itself a certain number of times. Here we can clearly see that the number that's being multiplied by itself is 2, so we'll just write that down. Like in the previous example above, right here, we're going to also try and determine the exponent. The number 2 appears 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Therefore, the exponent is equal to 4. And if we're going to write this as a power, we're going to put this in this certain form that we discussed earlier. We're going to write the base, which is equal to 2, and we're going to raise this to 4. That is our power. Moving on, the base here, what is it equal to? Well, what's being multiplied? Here we can see that it's 3. To determine the exponent, we're going to count how many times 3 appears and is multiplied. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Therefore, e is equal to 5. If we're going to put this in the form of a power, we're going to put the base first, and we're going to raise this to 5. I'm just going to write that. Moving on, here the number that's being multiplied is 1. The exponent, well, let's count. 1, 2, 3. Exponent is equal to 3. And so in power form, or as a power, this is 1 raised to 3. All right, good job. Now let's continue on. Remember, if there's no brackets, then it's likely that the exponent does not impact the negative sign, but if it has brackets, then it means that this is the entire base. So let's just go over that in these examples. So here we can see that the exponent of 2 has been raised above this bracketed number. So that means that this is equal to -4 times -4. And here we can see that the number that's being multiplied clearly is -4. Therefore, b is equal to -4. However, here, there's no bracket. This means that the negative sign is on the outside and the number that's being multiplied is 5. So, if we just write this out, we can see that the base, or the number that's being multiplied by itself, is equal to 5. And a final example, here we can see that the number that's being multiplied is within a bracket. We know what this means. It means that the number that's being multiplied includes that negative sign. Therefore, the base that's being multiplied, we can clearly see that that's -1. This is just something to keep in mind, as this often comes up on tests and quizzes. So, here we're going to try and solve the powers. This highlights one of the most fundamental rules of exponents, and so we're just going to see how this works out. So 4 to the power of 0. Well, 4 to the power of 0 is equal to 1. -3 to the power of 0, where we know the base is equal to -3, is also equal to 1. Here, where we know that the negative sign is not part of the base, we know that some -3 to the power of 0 is equal to 1, therefore this is equal to -1. There's something important we need to note here. If you don't know the rule behind this already, the rule is this: any base raised to the exponent 0 is equal to 1. So, you might be a little confused by this, because didn't we get -1 here? This relates back to the idea of identifying a base. We need to determine what exactly is being raised to the exponent of whatever that exponent may be. We need to be really sure of ourselves that the negative sign is either included or not included, because this will change our answer. This is just one example of that. For example, in 4 raised to the exponent of 0, we know that any base raised to the exponent 0 is equal to 1. So that's simply 1. Here again, we know our base is equal to -3, and any base raised to the exponent 0 is equal to 1. But here, this negative is not included in the base that's being multiplied by the exponent 0. This means that only the exponent, or only the base raised to the exponent 0 is equal to 1. We still have this negative sign that's related to this sort of equation outside of that 1. So then we need to multiply that in, and our final answer is -1. So again, this just proves the point that it's really important to be able to correctly identify a base and to apply this rule of exponents, that any base raised to the exponent 0 is equal to 1. So that was just a quick introduction to some practice problems related to powers, including, what is a power, what is an exponent, what is a base, how do these things work together. So I hope that was useful for you guys, and I'll see you next time.